You're listening to the Daily Sales Tips podcast, and I'm your host, Scott Ingram. Today's tip comes from Raj Nathan, otherwise known as Raj Nation. Raj Nation is the founder of Startup Hype Man, where he helps startups not suck at how they pitch and tell their story so they can stand out to customers and stand apart from their competitors. Here he is with today's tip.
Here's the scenario. You're in the midst of a demo call or a discovery call with a potential customer, and they ask you for a customer example of your own. They ask you something like, hey, can you tell me like some customers you've worked with and what kind of results they got? And then you ramble on for like 3 or 4 minutes explaining all the ins and outs of what you did with them and everything. Or perhaps on the flip side of that, they ask you for that customer example. Hey, who have you worked with? Have they been successful? And you rattle off like 3 big logos and just kind of stop there. And that's not going to do much either. Or a third scenario. They ask you for that customer example and you ramble on, but you kind of immediately, you open and you're like, oh, well, we helped so-and-so improve ROI by 46%. And then you just kind of continue to highlight like 3 or 4 more of those stats with that customer. None of those are cases where if that's your response, you are inspiring or motivating that person into action. You're not making them want to do business with you more. And why not? Well, because it's very much a look at me kind of response. It is a response that pretty much only makes your company look good in the process. And that's not what you want. What you want is to be able to effectively communicate to where they can see themselves being a future success example of their own with your company. So here's an outline to tell a story with impact and do it in about 45 seconds. So not only is it impactful, it's actually concise as well. You could do this either with slides or without slides, just verbally. Number 1, you want to state the customer who comes to mind because of the conversation you're having with this current prospective buyer. Number 2, deliver the qualitative or emotional result. Number 3, state what was their challenge initially. Number 4, what did you do about it? What kind of work did you do with them? Number 5, deliver the quantifiable result. Number 6, restate that initial qualitative or emotional result. And if possible, share what's on the horizon for that customer, what's next for them. And then finally, ask a question to the prospective buyer who's on the phone with you right now. So let's create a totally hypothetical example with that. Let's say I'm selling some type of like SMS software here. Again, totally hypothetical example. And I'm creating like an SMS software here. Or I'm selling an SMS software here. Here's how I would go through this outline. They ask me, so can you tell me about a customer and kind of what kind of results have they had? Yeah, absolutely. I really want to talk to you about Monster because you really remind me of them. And from the execution to the results, they were really happy with what they accomplished. And I think you might be able to identify with that as well. See, Monster was doing really well in grocery, but surprisingly losing market share at convenience stores. We launched an SMS trivia campaign where if consumers answered all 3 questions through text message, they got a coupon they could go use at a CVS or Rite Aid on the spot. The redemption rate was about 2%, and even better, most of them actually opted in for long-term remarketing. Monster loved it because it directly helped them regain market share in convenience stores, and we're actually now exploring the same thing for their 7-Eleven locations. And then on top of that, again, they have these people for long-term remarketing. So now those people are going back into those CVSs after that first time to redeem the coupon. I'm curious, what channel relationships come to mind for you? And are there specific demographic market areas where you actually want to drive more traffic? Right? So you can see in that format there, I started with saying, hey, you remind me of Monster, and here's why. Qualitative emotional result. They were really happy with what they got out of it. What was their challenge? Losing market share and convenience. What did you do? Hey, trivia, SMS trivia, so they can go and redeem a coupon at CVS. quantifiable result, 2% redemption rate, and people are opting in for long-term remarketing. Restate the qualitative result. Hey, they loved it because they were directly regaining market share in the convenience stores. And what's the next thing for them? We're now exploring that for 7-Eleven. Close the question. What channel relationships come to mind? Are there specific DMAs where you want to drive traffic? So try that out next week. Try that out today when you are asked to deliver a customer story.
If you'll click over to DailySales.Tips/541, you'll find the video version of this tip, the transcript, and more about Raj Nation. You'll also find a link to his Startup Hype Man website. After you check that out, make sure you come see us tomorrow for another great sales tip. Thanks for listening.